Learn with MS English. Speak English with confidence. Learn, practice, speak.
So you're just sitting on your couch, right? You're in your faded sweatpants, you're scrolling, and
boom.
Yeah, boom. In a split second, you see this perfectly curated brunch photo from a friend.
Oh, the brunch photos.
Right. And suddenly your own life just feels utterly inadequate. We all know that exact feeling.
We really do.
But what if the person who posted that photo is actually, like, more miserable than you are sitting on your couch?
It's highly likely, honestly.
Totally. So today, we are taking a deep dive straight into the heart of this modern contradiction.
Yeah, we've got a really fascinating source today.
We do. We are looking at source material from a YouTube channel called Mr. English Channel.
Right, which is interesting because it features a conversation between two individuals, Paul and Emily.
And what's wild is that it's originally designed as an English listening practice for beginners.
Right, just simple language practice.
Exactly. But their dialogue somehow accidentally stumbles into this profoundly deep philosophical discussion.
It really does. It gets into how screens totally distort our perception of reality.
And because the language in this transcript is kept so accessible, it completely bypasses the usual academic jargon.
Right, no complicated digital wellness terms.
Exactly. It just strips the conversation down to its most fundamental truths.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack that.
Yeah.
We want to use Paul and Emily's exchange to explore the psychological toll of this, digital performance.
Yeah, the highlighting of the highlight reel.
Exactly. And we'll look at the actual mechanisms in our brains that make these images so damaging.
And most importantly, we want to extract some practical, actionable advice from the source to help you, the listener, reclaim your attention.
To actually be more present in your physical life.
Yes. So let's start with a story from the transcript about Paul's friend, Tom.
Oh, this story it perfectly illustrates the hidden cost of all this.
It really does. So Tom posts this stunning photo of a Tuesday morning breakfast.
We are talking perfectly poached eggs, fresh fruit.
A vibrant green juice, naturally.
Oh, of course. And a beautifully poured artisan coffee.
Right, and it projects this image of someone who has their life completely together, right? Just effortlessly enjoying a luxurious, peaceful morning before work.
But the contrast comes when Paul actually sees Tom at the office an hour later.
Yeah, and Tom looks completely exhausted, just frazzled.
So when Paul asks him about his incredible morning, Tom admits the truth.
He spent 20 meticulous minutes just arranging, lighting, and photographing that breakfast.
20 minutes?
Yeah, and the reality behind the image, the eggs went totally cold.
The coffee was ruined.
And Tom didn't even have time to eat the food. He had to sprint out the door so he wouldn't be late.
He didn't just post a fake photo. He actively ruined his real breakfast just to pay for that digital validation.
It's like a digital performance tax.
That's a great way to put it.
The actual lived physical experience of eating a warm meal was sacrificed entirely just to feed an online persona.
And the transcript builds on this idea of performing for the camera with Emily's own confession, too.
What are the garden photos?
Yes. She talks about posting photos of her beautiful, serene garden. But she admits that right before she takes the picture, she physically hauls this massive, ugly plastic trash can completely out of the frame.
Just dragging it out of sight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the source gives us an even more extreme example of this, the classic Sunday morning vibes photo.
Oh, man, I feel seen.
Right. So a man is sitting in a room that is an absolute disaster zone, like clothes piled everywhere, old crusty pizza boxes stacked up.
Just a total mess.
But he clears one tiny 10-centimeter corner of table.
Right.
He places a single flyer and a book there, frames the shot really tightly, and posts it.
And anyone scrolling past just thinks he is relaxing in this pristine, minimalist sanctuary.
Exactly. We all know how to physically crop a photo to hide a messy room, but the transcript suggests we are doing something far more dangerous.
We're psychologically cropping our entire lives.
Yes. We selectively edit out our struggles, our boredom, our messes, so the world only ever sees the absolute peak moments.
It's like comparing your entire messy 2-hour movie to someone else's perfectly edited 2-minute trailer.
That is exactly what it is.
But wait, let me push back on this a bit. Are we inherently being deceptive when we do this? Like, are we intentionally lying, or is it just basic human nature to want to put our best foot forward?
I mean, people have been hiding their dirty laundry when guests come over for centuries. Right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it is absolutely human nature to want to present ourselves well.
Yeah.
In our evolutionary past, maintaining social standing within our tribe was a matter of actual survival.
So the impulse itself isn't broken.
No, the impulse to look successful or competent isn't the problem at all. The core issue is the medium and the scale.
Okay, what do you mean by this scale?
Well, in an ancestral village of, say, 50 people, you know the reality behind everyone's best foot.
Oh, right.
You might see your neighbor wearing their finest clothes to a gathering, but you also saw them literally trip in the mud yesterday.
Yeah, your brain has the complete context for their life.
Exactly. But on a screen, you're exposed to thousands of people, and you only see the tightly cropped, perfectly lit moments.
And our brains just aren't built for that.
The human brain simply isn't wired to process thousands of data points of unmitigated perfection.
So the aggregate effect of consuming all these curated moments basically creates a deeply distorted baseline.
Yeah, a distorted baseline for what normal, everyday reality is actually supposed to look like.
And that distorted baseline completely alters how we evaluate our own circumstances.
Because our brains are constantly processing these flawless digital movie trailers, we start to unfairly devalue our own perfectly good physical lives.
The source gets right into this with Paul's experience of FOMO. You know, the fear of missing out.
Oh, Saturday Night Story.
Yeah. Paul explicitly notes that he loves his quiet Saturday nights. His ideal evening is literally sitting on his sofa, in his pajamas, eating a simple sandwich.
Which sounds lovely, honestly.
Right. In the physical world, completely devoid of outside input, he is genuinely happy.
Until he opens his phone.
Until he opens his phone. He sees a photo of his friends, Tom and Sarah, out at a trendy new sushi restaurant.
Looking incredibly happy and vibrant, of course.
Instantly, Paul's genuinely peaceful night on the sofa feels lonely and inadequate.
He notes that the photo made him feel like he was doing something wrong by just staying home.
It's crazy because the digital image has the power to retroactively rewrite our physical emotional state.
Yes. Before the phone was unlocked, the sandwich and the sofa were a source of joy.
But the introduction of the curated image weaponized his own contentment against him.
It's a brilliant illustration of the trap. And the transcript provides another layer to this with a woman named Maria, who is vacationing in Italy.
Oh, the Italy trip.
Yeah, so Maria is posting pictures of beautiful steaming pasta dishes and posing in front of ancient architecture.
To anyone scrolling through her feed, she looks like absolute royalty living a dream.
But Paul happens to talk to her on the phone during this trip.
And he discovers the actual physical reality.
Right. She is a miserable, exhausted tourist. Her feet are aching from walking miles on cobblestones. She lost her sunglasses, and she's just incredibly stressed.
But that doesn't fully add up for me.
How so?
Like, if Paul logically knows Maria's feet hurt and she is miserable, he just talked to her, why does his brain still feel jealous of the pasta picture?
Oh, that's a great question.
Shouldn't our logical understanding of the situation immediately override a picture of a bowl of food?
You'd think so, but this comes down to the evolutionary architecture of the human brain.
Okay, break that down for me.
So visual processing in the brain, specifically the visual pathways connected to the amygdala, which is our emotional center, operates incredibly fast.
Right.
It is designed for immediate survival. A bright color, a smiling face, or the appearance of high-calorie food signals, safety, social harmony, or nourishment.
And it does that instantly.
Exactly. Your brain processes that visual proof instantly as truth. On the other hand, your prefrontal cortex, which handles logical recall and contextual memory,
The part that remembers she complained about her aching feet.
yes, that part operates much slower.
Oh, wow. So it's literally a foot race in the brain.
And the visual stimulus always wins.
Mm-hmm.
By the time your logic catches up to say, hey, remember, she is actually having a terrible time, the emotional center has already fired.
It has already triggered the feelings of jealousy, inadequacy, and exclusion.
The image essentially bypasses the rational bouncer at the door of our brain.
That is wild. And once that emotional reaction is triggered, we start looking for ways to measure our own worth against it.
Right.
Like the source points out how relying on the bizarre logic of likes just completely manipulates our mood.
Oh, absolutely.
Getting only 10 likes on a photo can send someone into an emotional spiral, making them feel completely unloved. They literally conclude, nobody likes me.
It forces human connection into a metric that can be tracked, gamified, and ultimately found wanting.
But the math of that is just completely broken. The transcript highlights the absurdity of this.
I love this part.
Right, because if 10 actual human beings walked into your living room right now to tell you your photo was cool, it would be a massive crowd.
You wouldn't even have enough cheers for them.
Exactly. It would be an overwhelming amount of attention. So why do we let an arbitrary number on a piece of glass artificially tank our self-esteem?
Well, we lose the physical context of what 10 human beings actually represent because the screen abstracts human connection into a barren data point.
Right. It's just a number.
And on these platforms, our brain compares our 10 likes not to a living room full of friends, but to an influencer's 10,000 likes.
So the algorithm places you in direct competition with the most visible people on Earth.
Exactly. When your brain processes that gap, a genuine interaction from 10 real friends suddenly registers as a massive social failure.
Which is just so sad when you think about it. And abstracting our self-worth into a number on a screen doesn't just make us feel bad when we look at our phones.
No, it fundamentally alters how we behave when we put the phone down.
It changes how we experience the physical world entirely,
Yeah.
which we see clearly when Paul decides to conduct an experiment.
Right, he goes for a walk in the park and leaves his phone at home.
And initially, he describes feeling totally terrified. His immediate thoughts are panicked. He's like, what if I see a beautiful bird and can't take a photo? What if I see a famous person?
Notice the specific nature of his panic there.
Weem.
His anxiety isn't about physical safety or getting lost. His anxiety is entirely about his inability to extract digital capital from his physical experience.
Digital capital, meaning he views the walk not as a living experience to be enjoyed, but as raw currency he can mine to buy likes and status online.
Yes. He is afraid he won't be able to prove to an audience that he had a good time.
Wow. But then a profound shift happens on this walk.
He actually does spot a big bluebird.
Right, sitting on a tree near the water. And because he doesn't have his phone, his default behavioral loop is completely shattered.
He realizes that normally he would spend 4 frantic minutes trying to get the framing and lighting right for a photo.
And then another minute agonizing over the perfect caption. Something performative like #blessed.
And by attempting to document the bird, he would completely miss the reality of the bird.
Exactly. Instead, he spends 5 full minutes simply watching it with his own eyes.
He notices the specific shades of blue in its feathers.
He hears the exact sounds it makes. He is fully present in his own physical space for the first time in a long time.
And the source introduces the concept of a digital detox right in this moment.
Yeah.
It characterizes it as a necessary, healthy diet for a brain that is completely exhausted by the constant evaluation of likes, the barrage of colors, and the endless clicking.
It makes me think of an analogy. It's like watching life through your phone screen is like going to a live concert, but watching the entire show through a tiny viewfinder instead of just looking at the stage.
That is a perfect analogy.
I wonder, though, does the very act of trying to capture a memory actively ruin the memory itself?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, does pulling out the camera actually damage our brain's ability to remember the event?
Cognitive psychology heavily supports that idea, actually. It is often referred to as the photo-taking impairment effect.
The photo-taking impairment effect.
Yeah. The moment you shift your primary intention from experiencing an event to documenting it, you severely divide your cognitive attention.
Right, because you're focused on the camera.
You are no longer fully immersed in the sensory details, the temperature of the air, the ambient sounds, the emotional resonance of the moment.
Instead, your brain is busy handling framing, lighting, and anticipating the future judgment of an online audience.
Exactly. You are essentially outsourcing your memory to the device.
Wow.
Because the phone is recording the visual data, your brain decides it doesn't need to deeply encode the experience into your long-term memory.
So true presence, as Paul discovers with the bird, actually requires abandoning the instinct to document.
When you remove the camera, your brain is forced to engage directly with reality.
So if treating our daily lives as a constant photo op degrades our memories and our mental health, how do we engage with the modern world without being consumed by it?
Well, the source material doesn't just outline the problem. It actually provides 2 distinct, actionable frameworks for using this technology properly.
Right. The first centers on emotional authenticity, and the second focuses on establishing hard digital boundaries.
And the source makes a crucial distinction here. Social media itself is not inherently evil.
It is a neutral tool.
They use a great analogy. They say social media is like a hammer.
Yeah. You can use it to build a house of friends, or you can use it to hit your thumb.
I love that.
Let's frame it as an amplifier of intent. If you approach these platforms with the intent to perform and project perfection, it amplifies your insecurity.
And it alienates the people watching you.
But if you approach it with the intent to genuinely connect, it amplifies empathy.
The transcript demonstrates this beautifully through the character of Sarah.
Oh, Sarah's story is great.
She decides to break the unwritten rules of the highlight reel entirely.
Instead of posting a perfectly cropped, filtered photo of a sunset or a flawless meal, she practices raw vulnerability.
She posts honestly about the fact that she is feeling incredibly overwhelmed and stressed about her work.
She totally rejects the Sunday morning vibes aesthetic.
And the psychological mechanism at play here is fascinating. By offering a real, messy, vulnerable moment, she signals safety to her social circle.
Because projecting perfection creates a barrier, right?
Exactly. It makes others feel they have to hide their own flaws to interact with you. Vulnerability does the exact opposite.
And the response Sarah receives proves it. She isn't met with judgment or silence.
Not at all.
She receives this outpouring of genuine connection and encouragement. People respond with, "Me too, I've been there, you can do this."
By admitting her own struggle, she invited actual human empathy rather than superficial jealousy.
It proves that most people are just desperately craving someone else to admit that their room is messy too.
They really are. Now, while Sarah's approach addresses the content we put into the system, the second solution addresses how the system interacts with us.
Right. And this comes at the very end of the transcript, where Emily reveals her major strategy for maintaining her peace of mind.
It is startlingly simple, yet highly aggressive.
She turns off all notifications.
Every single one.
No pings, no banners lighting up the screen, no vibrations in her pocket, nothing.
And Emily explains the realization that led to this. Before turning them off, she was reacting to her phone like a Pavlovian dog.
Oh, totally.
A piece of plastic and metal would make a tiny artificial sound to signal that someone liked a photo, and she would instantly drop whatever she was doing in the real world.
She would stop mid-conversation with a friend or let her coffee get cold just to respond to the device.
The phone was entirely in control of her physical environment.
But the psychological shift that occurs when you disable notifications is monumental.
Because it fundamentally rewires the power dynamic between you and the machine.
When notifications are active, the device dictates your attention. It summons you at its convenience, interrupting your thoughts and your physical presence.
But when you turn them off, you reclaim your autonomy. You check the phone when you actively decide to engage with it, on your own terms.
You transition from being a reactive subject of the algorithm to being the deliberate boss of your own attention span.
Exactly.
But, okay, let me challenge that approach for a second.
Sure, go for it.
If we turn absolutely everything off, aren't we just trading FOMO for the sheer terror of missing an actual emergency?
The emergency argument.
Like if a family member is in trouble or a boss needs something immediately, having a completely silent phone feels kind of irresponsible. Doesn't that just create a different kind of constant anxiety?
That is definitely the most common rationalization people use to keep their notifications on.
Right.
But grounding this back in the source's philosophy, Emily's strategy isn't about completely disconnecting from society or throwing the phone into the ocean.
Okay.
It is about intentionality. She checks her phone twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening.
So she's still checking it?
Yes. The objective is to stop the constant, fragmented interruption of your physical reality. True, immediate emergencies are statistically very rare.
That's fair.
The anxiety of missing one is often just a sophisticated excuse our brains manufacture to justify our addiction to the constant drip of dopamine and information.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Reclaiming your autonomy requires recognizing that you can be unreachable for a few hours while you walk in the park or eat dinner with a friend, and the world will not collapse.
It is about building a secure fence around your actual life, so the digital world only enters when you deliberately open the gate.
Exactly.
So, to bring all of these concepts together for you listening, let's look at the core takeaways from Paul and Emily's realizations.
Right, let's summarize.
First, stop comparing your entire, unedited, behind-the-scenes reality to everyone else's highlight reel.
Remember that every single person is cropping out their own messy pizza boxes and hauling their own trash cans out of the frame.
Second, ground yourself in the physical reality of digital metrics. 10 people appreciating what you do is a crowd standing in your living room.
Do not allow algorithms and abstracted data points to dictate your baseline self-worth.
Third, use these platforms as amplifiers of genuine connection. Prioritize authentic vulnerability over projecting a flawless, stress-free vibe.
Because perfection breeds isolation, while vulnerability breeds empathy.
And finally, become the boss of your phone. Turn off the notifications so you dictate how your time is spent rather than jumping every time the digital bell rings.
Stepping back from this source material, here's one final thought to ponder.
What's that?
When Emily mentions that she only checks her phone twice a day, Paul reacts by calling her very brave.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Think about the cultural weight of that specific word choice. Why have we built a modern society where it is considered an act of genuine bravery simply to sit quietly in our own reality?
Bravery, just to exist in the present moment without needing a screen to validate it. That's why.
It is. What would happen today if you experienced a moment of pure, unadulterated joy and you explicitly chose not to document it?
Just letting it be.
Exactly. What if you let it exist only in your own physical memory, untaxed by digital performance, for you and you alone?
That is a challenge worth taking. So the next time you are out and you see something beautiful, maybe a big bluebird by the water or just the sunlight hitting your living room floor, resist the urge to crop it, filter it, or turn it into capital.
Be there.
Go out and look at that bird with your actual eyes today, because that messy, unedited, undocumented reality.
That's the only place your life is actually happening.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. We will see you next time.